Ahoy, swabs! Captain Jeff the Pirate here, at your service. And welcome to Captain Jeff Reviews and Questions Adventure Time. Today's episode, Food Chain. Now in this episode, Princess Bubblegum has been opening a museum for the Candy Kingdom children. It shows the life cycle of how a plant grows. It is eaten by grubs. Grubs are eaten by little birds. Little birds are eaten by bigger birds. The bigger birds are then die and turn into bacteria. The bacteria eats the birds, and then the bacteria becomes plants. And the cycle, or the food chain, starts all over and over and over again. Naturally, this ain't to be too interesting to the children, or to Finn and Jake. Now, while all this be going on, the Magic Man be in the background. So he decides to show Finn and Jake firsthand how the food chain works. So he turns them into little birds, and they eat grubs and worms. Then Finn becomes a big bird and tries to eat Jake. He then dies, and he becomes a bunch of bacteria. So does Jake. Then they become flowers. Then they become worms. And the process just goes through the cycle. At the very end, the Magic Man turns them back to normal after Finn has some sort of epiphany about how the food chain works. Now, while all this be happening, there'll be something very interesting about this episode. I was watching it, and at first I couldn't put my finger on it, but then I noticed the animation style for this episode was different. It was different than what was conventional for this series. It was like Adventure Time was fused with Space Dandy and Fooly Cooly. So the animation style was just weird, like the way the characters moved around. It was interesting, to say the least. But yeah. Now the thing about the story is, during their phases of life, as the small birds, they're debating the whole let's eat the worms. Oh, these probably taste good or not. And then when Finn becomes the big bird and Jake is still the small bird, Finn wants to eat Jake. Jake escapes successfully though. The whole bacteria thing then gets weird, as it's just like a million Finn faces eating off the skeleton. And then as flowers, it's like some weird music video. And then in the worm phase, once again Finn falls in love with a pretty female worm. This series. Anyway, well, after over 100 episodes, and that's how many seasons this series has had, it had to happen. But I didn't particularly like this episode. I give them credit for trying a new style for the way they presented the show and how they animated it, but after seeing it for so long in that original format, it just didn't work for me. The animation style was a little weird. I didn't like the Magic Man in any way, shape, or form. And there was not really that much of a story to tell. It was just going through the food chain, which is something you can learn from school or from an educational program. So yeah, this episode didn't really sit too well with me. So while I applaud it for trying something different, its faults outweigh the good. So for the first time ever on this show, I give Food Chain a 1 thumb down. Like I said, it would normally, if the show was just worse, I'd give it 2 thumbs down. But like I said, they tried something different, so I have to give them some credit for that. But overall, I just didn't like this episode. If you have to miss one episode of the Adventure Time series, this be the one. Sorry, folks, but yeah, this wasn't exactly the best episode for me to review. Hopefully next week we'll provide some better material. So until next time, this be Captain Jeff for Captain Jeff Reviews and Questions Adventure Time, saying, Arr. Have a nice day.